The morning began like any other at Seattle's Station 47, with the characteristic smell of strong coffee and the sound of equipment being checked. Rebecca Morrison had just arrived for her first day as the new substitute chief of the night shift, a promotion that had taken 15 years of hard work to achieve. She adjusted her uniform belt and observed the curious faces of the firefighters who would now be under her command, some clearly skeptical about having a woman leading the most challenging shift. Captain Douglas Harrington, a 30-year veteran known for his dry wit and traditional methods, leaned against his office door with a steaming mug of coffee. He had worked with Rebecca before, when she was still a rookie struggling to prove her worth in a male-dominated environment, but the last 5 years had kept them on different stations. Harrington had a reputation for testing new leaders, especially those who came from outside to assume command positions. Rebecca knew she needed to establish her authority from the start. She had faced skyscraper fires, rescues from building collapses, and situations that would make even the most experienced hesitate. Her experience included 3 years as an instructor at the fire academy and 2 years in a specialized hazardous materials unit. But none of that mattered if she couldn't earn the team's respect in the first few days. The day passed with the usual routine of equipment inspections and training. Rebecca attentively observed how each team member operated, identifying strengths and areas that needed attention. There was Jake Patterson, a young firefighter with only 2 years of service, but with remarkable instincts. Maria Gonzalez, an experienced paramedic who had seen it all in her decades-long career. And then there was Thomas Brennan, a burly man who clearly wasn't happy to have Rebecca as his supervisor. His suspicious glances did not go unnoticed. That afternoon, during lunch, Harrington decided to begin what he called his tradition of giving operational nicknames to new team leaders. He approached Rebecca with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, surrounded by several team members who seemed eager to see the show. "So, Morrison," he began, in that casual tone that precedes something important, "you know we have a tradition here. Every team leader gets a call sign, something that captures who you are. You know how it is. Some are funny, some not so much. It depends on what you bring to the table." Rebecca maintained her neutral expression, knowing this was a test. She had heard of these traditions, but each season had its own peculiarities. Harrington continued, clearly enjoying the moment. "Let me see," he ventured, looking at the ceiling as if deep in thought. "How about Phoenix? Too dramatic? Or maybe Spark? Small but bright?" A few nervous laughs echoed through the room. Rebecca crossed her arms and tilted her head slightly. "I already have a call sign. Captain, I used it during my years in the tactical unit." Harrington's smile faltered for a moment. "Oh, really? And what would that be?" "Blaze 6. The silence that followed was absolute. The coffee mug in Harrington's hand stopped halfway to his lips. His eyes widened visibly, and his expression shifted from condescending amusement to something between shock and disbelief. The color literally drained from his face, leaving him as pale as paper. "Did you say Blaze 6? His voice came out, hoarse, almost inaudible. "Yes, sir. Blaze 6. That's what the team chose when I was leading special operations in the industrial zone." Harrington carefully set down his mug, as if afraid of dropping it. He turned abruptly and walked quickly toward his office without saying a word. The team fell silent, exchanging confused glances. No one had expected that reaction. Maria was the first to break the silence. "What just happened? I've never seen the captain like that before." Thomas scoffed. "He probably just realized they brought in someone who actually knows what they're doing. It must have hurt his ego." But Rebecca had seen something more in Harrington's reaction. It wasn't wounded ego or simple surprise. It was recognition, fear, perhaps, or respect. She decided not to press the issue and returned to work, but curiosity gnawed at her. The following hours were strange. Harrington avoided Rebecca completely, communicating only through notes or radio messages. During a routine call to a false fire alarm at a commercial building, he kept his distance, observing from afar as Rebecca coordinated the site inspection with military precision. It was only when they returned to the station, well after midnight, that Harrington finally sought out Rebecca. He knocked on the door of her small temporary office, looking as if he had aged 10 years since that morning. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice devoid of its previous mocking tone. Rebecca nodded toward the empty chair. "Of course, Captain." Harrington entered and closed the door behind him, which was unusual. He sat heavily and rubbed his face with both hands before speaking. "Blaze 6, he repeated, as if testing the words. I thought that was just a legend, a story people told to scare the newcomers. Rebecca waited, letting him continue. About 8 years ago, Harrington began, his voice low. There was a fire in the industrial district. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was at a chemical plant, a huge place that produced solvents and paint components. The fire started in the middle of the night and quickly got out of control. The problem was that there were storage tanks all over the complex, and if any of them exploded, the result would be catastrophic. Rebecca didn't interrupt, maintaining her neutral expression as he continued. They evacuated a 1-kilometer radius. Central Command was prepared to let the place burn and just contain it so it wouldn't spread, but there was something nobody knew. Initially, Harrington paused, his jaw clenched. There were 5 night shift workers trapped in the basement of the main building. Communication went down early, so they couldn't call for help until someone finally picked up a weak radio signal. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the Seattle night. The command said it was very dangerous, that the building could collapse at any moment, that the tanks could explode. They told the workers to seek shelter and wait, but everyone knew they wouldn't have enough air and the heat would kill them before the fire was contained. Rebecca remained quiet, knowing where the story was going. Then someone picked up the radio. Harrington continued, his voice thick with emotion. A female voice, calm as if she were ordering coffee, said, "Blaze 6 coming in. We need a team of 3 and extra breathing equipment. We have 20 minutes before the structure compromises." Command tried to deny it, but she simply replied, "Understood. Blaze 6 already in motion," and cut the transmission. He turned to Rebecca, his eyes gleaming. "They said you entered by a route no one else would have considered, through a drainage system that led to the basement, that you navigated through literal hell, found those 5 men, and pulled them out one by one. The last one left exactly 2 minutes before a large part of the ceiling collapsed." Rebecca finally spoke, her voice soft. "It was 18 minutes, actually, and there were 4 of us. On the team, not 3. The reports always forget the paramedic who was with us." Harrington let out a sound between laughter and a sob. "One of those men you saved," he said, sitting back down, "was my younger brother, Danny Harrington. He was 23 and working at that factory to pay for college." Silence filled the room like water. Rebecca felt the weight of those words, the connection she hadn't anticipated. She had led so many operations, saved so many lives over the years that it was impossible to remember every face, every name. But she remembered that night. She remembered the unbearable heat, the zero visibility, the sound of the metal tanks groaning under the thermal stress. She remembered the 5 terrified faces when they finally reached the basement. "Danny never knew who led the rescue," Harrington continued. "When he tried to find out later, all he got was this call sign, Blaze 6. No real names, just conflicting stories and vague records. He searched for years. Wanted to thank you personally. He died 2 years ago in a car accident before he could meet you." Rebecca closed her eyes briefly. "I'm so sorry for your loss." "No," Harrington said quickly, shaking his head. "Don't apologize. Danny got 2 extra years of life because of you. He graduated, got married, had a daughter. My niece is 18 months old now. She exists because you didn't take no for an answer that night." His voice broke. "When you made that call today, it was like Danny was in the room, like he finally got his wish to meet the person who saved him." Rebecca didn't know what to say. She had done her job that night, as she did so many others. The idea that that specific decision, those 18 minutes, would reverberate years later in the lives of people she would never meet, was humiliating and heavy. "I tested you today," Harrington admitted, his voice firmer now. "I did exactly what I promised myself I would never do. I judged you before seeing what you were capable of, and when you said that name, I realized I was in the presence of someone who lives by the same principles I try to teach, not taking no for an answer when lives are at stake, leading head on, bringing everyone back home." Rebecca leaned forward. "Captain Harrington, I didn't do that alone. I had an exceptional team that night, people who trusted my leadership even when it seemed like madness, and I was lucky, very lucky. Things could have ended very differently, but they didn't finish," he replied. "And it wasn't luck. It was training, courage, and leadership, the kind of things that can't be taught, only cultivated." In the days that followed, something changed at Station 47. The story spread, not in the way Rebecca would have preferred, but inevitably in an environment where people depended on each other to survive. She didn't promote the narrative, but she didn't deny it either. The team began to look at it with new eyes. Thomas Brennan was the most transformed. After a particularly difficult call where Rebecca remained completely calm coordinating the rescue of a family trapped in an apartment fire, he sought her out while cleaning up the equipment. "I was wrong about you," he said bluntly. "I thought you were just another person promoted to meet quotas. But you're the real deal." Rebecca wasn't offended. She'd heard worse, and understood that trust in her field was earned through actions, not words. "You did a good job today, Brennan. Your reading of the building structure saved us valuable time." He seemed genuinely surprised by the compliment. I grew up on construction sites. I can sense when a building is about to collapse." "That intuition is valuable," Rebecca said. "Don't underestimate it." As the weeks passed, Rebecca established her own style of leadership. She was demanding but fair, never asking for something she wasn't willing to do herself. During training, she worked harder than anyone else, repeatedly proving that her promotion wasn't merely administrative. She could drag hoses, climb ladders with full equipment, and force doors with the same efficiency as the strongest men on the team. But it was during a particularly dangerous call that its true nature shone through. An abandoned warehouse in the Port District caught fire, and initial reports mentioned possible homeless people using the site as shelter. The structure was severely compromised, with decades of neglect turning it into a death trap waiting to collapse. Central Command ordered a purely defensive operation, containment without entry. Rebecca was about to confirm when she heard something through the roar of the flames and the noise of the equipment. A scream, weak but unmistakable. A human voice calling for help. She grabbed her radio. Blaze 6 to command, confirming signs of life inside, requesting permission for rapid rescue operation. The response was immediate and negative. "Negative, Blaze 6. The structure is not secure. Maintain a defensive position." Rebecca looked at her team, saw the same questioning eyes, the same internal struggle. She knew that feeling, the terrible certainty that following orders meant letting someone die. She thought of Danny Harrington, of the 5 men in the basement, of all the times when the right thing and the safe thing weren't the same thing. She made her decision in seconds. "Brennan, Patterson, with me. Gonzalez, get ready with the paramedics. Everyone else, keep the hoses around the perimeter and be ready to get us out of there. We have 5 minutes, no more." "Morrison," Harrington's voice came through the radio, tense. "You heard the command." "Yes, sir," she replied, already moving toward the building. "And I heard someone dying inside. Blaze 6 entering." They entered through the most stable point Rebecca could identify, moving with practiced precision through the dense smoke. The heat was intense, the air laden with toxins that tested the limits of their breathing equipment. Rebecca led, using her experience to read the signs of structural weakness, avoiding areas where the floor seemed about to collapse. The scream came again, closer now. They found an elderly man trapped under a fallen beam, conscious but in shock. Rebecca assessed the situation in seconds. The beam was too heavy to move without specialized equipment, but there was a way to free the man if they acted quickly. "Patterson, support the beam here," she instructed, positioning the young firefighter. "Brennan, when I count to 3, we'll lift him high enough for me to pull him up. Hold for 5 seconds, no more. If you feel the beam give way, let go and get out." They executed the plan with military precision. The beam lifted high enough, Rebecca pulled the man free, and they were moving back toward the exit before a full minute had passed. But the building had waited too long. A deafening sound echoed above them, the terrible groan of metal and wood cracking. "Run!" Rebecca yelled, practically dragging the wounded man while Brennan and Patterson flanked her. The floor behind them began to collapse in a cascade, a wave of destruction chasing after them. They emerged from the structure just as an entire section of the ceiling collapsed inward, sending a cloud of embers and debris into the night air. The medical team immediately took control of the survivor, and Rebecca removed her mask, breathing in the cool night air while adrenaline still coursed through her veins. She was aware that she had disobeyed a direct order, that there would be consequences. But when she looked at the man they had just saved, being carried to the ambulance but alive, she knew she would make the same choice again. Harrington found her minutes later, his expression unreadable. "My office when we get back," was all he said. The ride back to the station was silent, everyone processing what had happened. Rebecca used the time to prepare her defense, review the regulations in her mind, and calculate whether her career had just been ended by that decision. In Harrington's office, she remained standing while he sat behind his desk, leafing through papers. The silence stretched, heavy and uncomfortable. Finally, he looked up. "You disobeyed a direct order from Central Command," he said, his voice emotionless. "Yes, sir. He put his team in unnecessary danger." "I respectfully disagree, sir. The danger was calculated and mitigated within acceptable limits. You could have killed 3 firefighters trying to save a drunk homeless man." Rebecca felt anger rising but contained it. "I could have let a human being die when I had the ability to save him, and his value as a person doesn't diminish because of his circumstances." Harrington stood up, walked over to her, and to her surprise extended his hand. "Exactly the answer I was hoping for. You did the right thing, Morrison, and I'll make sure Central Command understands that too." Rebecca squeezed his hand, confused. "Sir, I was testing your resolve," he admitted. "I wanted to see if you would get bogged down by bureaucracy or follow your instincts. You reminded me why the Blaze 6 sign meant something. Because some people become legends, not because they seek glory, but because they can't do anything but what's right, regardless of the personal cost." In the weeks that followed, Rebecca's reputation at Station 47 was solidified. She wasn't just a good leader. She was the kind of leader people would follow to hell if necessary. The team became more cohesive, more confident, knowing they had someone who wouldn't abandon them. But with reputation came added responsibility. Rebecca began to be called upon to consult on complex operations, her name appearing in discussions about tactics and training at the departmental level. And always, like a shadow, the Blaze 6 call sign followed her. Some said it with reverence, others with envy, but everyone knew it. One night, 3 months after her arrival, Rebecca was alone on the station roof, gazing at the city lights. She thought about all the decisions that had brought her there, all the lives she had touched, all those she had saved, and, painfully, the few she hadn't been able to. The weight of that calling signal sometimes seemed more than she could bear. Harrington found her there, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. "A place to think," he remarked, handing her one, "or to question all of your life choices." Rebecca replied with a small smile. They were silent for a moment, comfortable in each other's company. Finally, Harrington spoke. "You know, after Danny was rescued, he told me something. He said that when he was trapped in that basement, convinced he was going to die, he didn't think about all the big things he wanted to do. He thought about the little things, breakfast with our mother, playing ball with his friends, the smell of rain, the simple things that make life worth living." Rebecca looked at him, waiting. "What I'm saying," Harrington continued, "is that you give people the chance to experience these little things again. Every life you save isn't just a statistic. It's thousands of future moments, millions of small joys. That's what Blaze 6 really means." As night wore on over Seattle, Rebecca Morrison remained on that rooftop, contemplating the weight and privilege of her career choice, knowing that the next day would bring new challenges, new calls, and new opportunities to make a difference. And when the time came, when someone desperately needed help, Blaze 6 would be ready to respond. 3 months after the warehouse incident, Rebecca was reviewing training reports when she received an unexpected call from the Human Resources Department. A woman named Sarah Brennan wanted to meet her, and the last name immediately caught her attention. When she asked if there was any relation to Thomas Brennan from her team, the answer confirmed her suspicions. It was his wife. The meeting was scheduled for an afternoon off at a quiet coffee shop near the station. Rebecca arrived early, nervous in a way she rarely experienced. Dealing with fires was one thing, but personal conversations about the impact of her work always made her uncomfortable. Sarah was a petite woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. She stood as Rebecca entered, extending her hand with genuine enthusiasm. "Chief Morrison, thank you for agreeing to meet me. Please call me Rebecca," she replied, sitting down. "And I'm glad to be here, though I'm confused about why." Sarah laughed softly, stirring her teacup. "Tom doesn't know I'm here. He'd be embarrassed if he did, but I needed to thank you personally for what you did for him." Rebecca frowned, confused. "I didn't do anything more than my job. Tom is an excellent firefighter." "Exactly," Sarah said, her eyes shining with restrained emotion. "He's an excellent firefighter now, but 6 months ago, he was about to quit. He said he was tired of being treated like a dumb muscle, that nobody valued his experience or intuition. He was considering leaving the department altogether." Rebecca remained silent, letting Sarah continue. "Then you arrived," Sarah continued, "and at first, he was so convinced it would be more of the same. a leader who wouldn't respect him, who wouldn't see beyond her prejudices, but you saw him. You valued exactly what makes him special. That night during the apartment fire, when you praised his structural reading, he came home, transformed. It was the first time in months I'd seen him excited about the work. Rebecca felt a pang in her chest. She had no idea that simple recognition had meant so much. I just recognized a valuable skill. It wasn't anything special. It was special for him, Sarah insisted. And for me, because I have my husband back, the man who loves his job, who believes he's making a difference. You don't just save people from fires, Rebecca. You save people from getting lost. As she walked back home after the meeting, Rebecca reflected on that perspective. She had always measured her success in lives saved during emergencies, but she had never considered the more subtle impact of her leadership. How many other people had she touched in ways she would never know? The response came in unexpected ways in the following weeks. Jake Patterson confided that he was studying to become a technical rescue instructor, inspired by how Rebecca approached complex situations. Maria Gonzalez mentioned that she had returned to teaching at the nursing college, rediscovering her passion for teaching after observing how Rebecca trained the team. But it wasn't all quiet triumphs and uplifting moments. One night, they received a call about a house fire, an old 2-story house in a middle-class neighborhood. When they arrived, flames were already consuming the second floor, and thick smoke was pouring from all the windows. A hysterical woman was screaming on the sidewalk, saying that her 2 children were trapped in the back room. Rebecca coordinated the response with practiced precision, sending Brennan and Patterson into the primary attack, while she and another firefighter conducted a secondary search. The heat was intense, visibility almost zero. She navigated the second-floor hallway, touching the walls, systematically checking each room. She found her first son, a boy of perhaps 8 years old, unconscious but breathing, hidden under a bed. She handed him to the firefighter, who was with her, and continued searching. Her second son must be there, somewhere in that mess of smoke and flames. Her air supply was getting low, the warning alarms starting to sound. She checked the closet, under another bed, behind the door. Nothing. Panic threatened to set in, that terrible feeling that she had failed. Then she heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible sound, crying coming from inside the built-in wardrobe. Rebecca ripped open the closet door and found a little girl, no more than 5 years old, huddled among blankets. She picked her up, shielding the child with her own body as she navigated back through the smoke. Her legs burned, her lungs begged for clean air, but she kept moving. They emerged from the house just as a window shattered behind them, glass and flames following in its wake. Rebecca handed the little girl to the medical team and fell to her knees, ripping off her mask to vomit from exhaustion and smoke inhalation. But both children were alive, receiving oxygen as they were transported to the hospital. Later, at the hospital where she was checked as a precaution, Rebecca sat on a stretcher, looking at her trembling hands. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her exhausted and emotionally drained. Harrington appeared in the curtain, his expression worried. "The children will be fine," he said immediately. "Smoke inhalation, some minor injuries, but they'll make a full recovery. You saved them, Morrison." Rebecca shook her head. "That was close. 30 more seconds, and I wouldn't have found the girl in time. I was about to give up and leave." "But you didn't give up," Harrington pointed out, sitting down beside her. "That's the point. You keep searching when others would have stopped. That's why you are who you are. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it," Rebecca admitted, her voice low. "The physical and emotional cost, the sleepless nights replaying the calls, questioning every decision. There are days when I just want a normal life." Harrington was silent for a long moment. "You know what Danny once told me? After he became a father, he said that every time he looked at his daughter, he saw Blaze 6's face, not literally, because he never knew who you were, but he saw the personification of someone who cared enough to risk everything for a stranger, and he wanted his daughter to grow up in a world where people like that exist." Rebecca discreetly rubbed her eyes. "That's a lot of weight to carry." "Yes," Harrington agreed, "but you don't carry this alone. You have a team, a department, an entire community that benefits from what you do. And now, you have 2 children who will grow up, live their lives, all because you didn't give up in those final 30 seconds. The following months brought a more stable routine. Rebecca settled into her role, her leadership no longer questioned, but accepted as natural. Station 47 developed a reputation for excellence, frequently called upon for the most challenging situations because they had Blaze 6 in command. But Rebecca was changing too. She began to understand that leadership wasn't just about being the first to step into the fire or making the toughest decisions. It was about building a team that could function with or without her, creating a legacy that would transcend her own career. She began mentoring more actively, not only her direct team, but junior firefighters throughout the department. She gave lectures at the academy, sharing not only techniques but philosophy, how to balance courage with caution, when to follow orders, and when to trust your instincts. One afternoon, she received an envelope in the internal mail. Inside was a faded photograph and a letter written in childish handwriting. The photo showed 5 men in front of a burned-out factory, broad smiles on faces covered in soot. The letter was from Danny Harrington, written years ago but never sent, found among his belongings after his death. To Blaze 6, the letter began. I don't know who you are or if you'll ever read this, but I need you to know what you did for me. You gave me a second chance at life, a chance to see my brother grow old, to get married, to meet my daughter. Every happy moment I experience now is a gift from you. I live to make that gift valuable, to be worthy of the risk you took. Thank you doesn't seem enough, but it's all I have. With eternal gratitude, Danny. Rebecca held the letter for a long time, silent tears rolling down her face. She thought of all the times she had questioned her choices, all the moments of doubt and exhaustion, and she realized that this was the answer, this simple and profound human connection, this recognition that her actions mattered in ways she would never fully see. She carefully folded the letter and placed it in her wallet, a tangible reminder of why she did what she did. Then she stood up, adjusted her uniform, and returned to work. Because somewhere out there, someone would need help. And when the time came, when the impossible needed to be attempted and the dangerous needed to be faced, Blaze 6 would be ready. Not because she was a hero or a legend, but because she was simply a firefighter who cared enough to try. And in the end, perhaps that's what carrying that call sign truly meant. Not the glory or recognition, but the silent responsibility of being someone others could rely on when all else failed. The city would keep spinning, the alarms would keep ringing, and Rebecca Morrison would keep answering, one call at a time.